Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Discord AMA. You know how we do here at CertiK. We like to bring on different projects to talk about what they're building, especially in this market that we're in right now. So you guys can learn a bit more. If you want to get involved, awesome. Obviously, we have CertiK.com for all your due diligence needs. So we want to make sure that everyone is safe on their Web3 journey because CertiK wants to secure the Web3 world. Today's AMA is with Byte Masons. Now, guys, you want to introduce yourself, Samson and Justin? Can you please give us some insight on into who you are, what you're about? And the first question I like to ask also, one of the first questions I like to ask at least is what got you into Web3? What was that project and why? So who you are, what you do, and how did you even get here?
So I'm Samson. Nice to meet you all. I'm the operations manager at the Byte Masons. I help to prioritize tasks and connect different parties and find new collaborators. I guess my background is far away from finance. Was a professional gamer at one point, and through that I learned some marketing tools and found my way into design. And eventually I discovered Phantom as a blockchain. DeFi fascinated me. I found the ability to sort of make my own decisions to be really empowering. And on my search in finding a safer place to store my funds, I discovered Justin Bieber and his Ethos and the Byte Masons, and I used their software Reaper Farm and couldn't stop. I just found the community to be really exciting, and the the opportunity to contribute to a new technology felt just like when gaming was picking up, and for me it felt like home again. And so I reached out and asked if I could help, and um, tried to prove my worth and made it all the way to this AMA. So here we are. That's a quick bit about me. I'll pass it over to you, Beavis.
Yeah, I'm Justin Bibis, founder and CEO of Byte Masons. We're a software engineering firm, um, and we've been in this space working for over 2 years. Our first application was debuted in April of 2021, so almost 2 years as working on the dApp side of things. And we started out as Ethereum security engineers, uh, myself and my co-founder, and have been building ever since. We at our peak managed personally over 300 million TVL. Our clients nearly 10 billion TVL. We have a lot of experience in scaling DeFi applications and building financial products. What got me into crypto was kind of early to mid 2020. I was doing data analysis for our finance department, helping them out with an audit that wasn't going very well. Um, and, you know, I found a lot of issues with their accounting systems, with the consistency of their billing, and just overall, it was kind of an awful experience having to sift through so much data trying to make this audit work out. So, to help my manager out, I was researching solutions, trying to help optimize the department, and I quickly stumbled upon papers talking about Bitcoin as a triple entry accounting system. So, what excited me was I instantly saw product market fit there. And at the time, I was kind of getting into finance and investing. And I was thinking, like, okay, if you have this third objective ledger that's making sure that both parties' books are the same and everybody's accounting correctly, the implications for thinning out finance departments, making finance departments more efficient, saving people potentially, billions and billions and billions of dollars a year in accounting errors and whatnot. It just made a lot of sense to me. So, I kind of started down the crypto rabbit hole that way. I noodled into Ethereum and smart contracts and very quickly saw a huge opportunity. And I started to learn programming. I started to learn about the industry and network and build connections. I was a very early participant in the Kernel OX fellowship, learning Ethereum security and DeFi. Later, part of the Y Academy fellowship, where I earned some cool accreditations. And I've just been going ham kind of ever since. And we've managed to build like a really, really crazy talented team of almost 30 people around us. And it's an exciting place to be, bull market or bear market, and the future is.
Awesome. It always sounds like there's some sort of rabbit hole involved there. Always like, oh yeah, I kind of stumbled upon this thing, and then next thing you know it, I was trading like a DJ, and I was like, what? Sorry, I'm Vladimir, by the way. I'm marketing director here at CertiK. I didn't introduce myself at the beginning. That's my bad. But it's great to always hear about sort of how everyone got involved in it. So, and I always remember rabbit hole because usually, more often than not, someone's always talking about, yeah, I took a left turn and now I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. Very common experience.
So tell us a bit about Byte Masons. For those who don't know, our community is a growing community, especially on the searching side. That on our Discord, we're trying to, bring more educational content and fun content as well to be more engaging. But like for those who don't know exactly, what is Byte Masons and what does it provide to the end user potentially?
Yeah, so we are a Web3 engineering firm. We have one of the most mature engineering staffs in the space, I would say. We have, I guess, 15 senior engineers on staff, working for us full time. And we build badass software, I guess, is the long and short of it. Our whole thing is we're perfectionists. We like to make apps as perfect as we possibly can, and we like to do it in stealth. So if you've been following us a while, you've probably seen us be quiet and then have big releases and try to under promise and over deliver has been our motto for the past 8 months or so. And yeah, we work with our clients. Developing and iterating on their applications. So our main workload is within the Oath ecosystem. So Oath is a governance token, and through that we develop products called Reaper.farm, Reliquary, and Ethos Reserve. And we can maybe get more into that a bit later. And then we also work for the Grain Foundation. Uh, through the Grain token, and we work on the granary.finance application. And then we have some other kind of clients that we can't talk about because of NDAs, but we've had our hands kind of all over the place in the DeFi ecosystem and leveraging our experience and our skill to kind of give people that extra oomph during their development cycles.
Awesome. I guess I have a question for
Sure.
this current market. What's your take on what is happening right now? We all know that they say, build during the bear, build during the bear. So what's your take right now on what's happening in the space and what's potentially possible?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of consolidation. What's exciting about the bear market is we figure out what works and what doesn't, because stuff that doesn't work is going to burn out really fast. And, throughout 2020, 2021, we saw projects sustaining themselves just through burning tokens. And, a lot of people were kind of convinced, oh, this project has product market fit. This project has product market fit. Excuse me. Um, and once demand kind of fell down last May, we really figured out, okay, what is DeFi's real product market fit? Who is the real customer? And what are the things that really work? And I think what we're finding and what a lot of other teams are finding is, you know, this has been done before. We've been looking to the history of traditional finance and figuring out ways to optimize within a domain that can penetrate traditional financial markets, and that seems to be the focus of ours and a lot of other teams, is developing real sustainable yield platforms or trading platforms, and developing incentive structures and payoff structures that actually make sense. And it's kind of been a godsend. Like the bear market, it's a nice and quiet time where you can focus on noodling your way into your market category and really trying extra hard to do so. So yeah, we're going to see this probably this year as well. I mean, I like to be optimistic, but usually when making decisions, I try to be pessimistic or realistic. I don't know how far out of the weeds we are yet. Maybe I just have a little PTSD from 2022, but it is like so refreshing to see people excited again. And hopefully we can carry this momentum into the year and the years following. So yeah, do you have any other insight, Samson, that I could have missed?
I thought you did a great job, Beavis. Thanks. But you know, there certainly is a new wave of enthusiasm that we're seeing in our community, and we're quite attached at the hip to I mean five chains, I suppose now. So we're starting to catch a good variety of different I don't know, traders and holders, etc. So it's really refreshing to see some new people come in. Is what I'm noticing at the moment.
So yeah, speaking of like new people coming in, like how do you go about that? So for instance, right, I think that most of 2022 probably turned off a lot of like normal people who might be thinking about getting into the space, right? And now that things across the board, especially in the traditional markets, are kind of looking up just a little bit recently, right now, recently. I'm not talking about 2 months ago. I'm not talking about 2 months in the future, right? So let's keep that in context for everyone, right? Like, what's the how can they feel confident about like taking another look right now? You know what I mean? Especially like you're seeing new people coming in. Like, what do you think is changing?
Well, I think people are building on the successes of the previous years. There's a lot of new innovation still coming and refining. I think there's a lot of exciting new strategies or communities that are developing. Like governance is maturing in a couple communities and getting quite substantial. I'd say looking at the experience of 2021, 2022, and these sort of inflows and outflows that we witnessed, the system held really well. And I think people are actually feeling, maybe quietly optimistic that this has actually got really good legs. And we're continuing to build, I guess tapping onto the how do you get attention or how do you attract new people idea. It's just by being innovative, by doing something different, and by making users' lives better, through innovation and better experience or things of that nature. So go ahead, Beavis, if you have some additional comments.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, like everybody talks about, oh, there's a mass exodus of users, oh, everybody's like gone, everybody's forgotten about crypto, whatever. But, hundreds of millions of wallets were made in 2022 and 2021. And, these are people who aren't just going to forget about their experiences. And, while a lot of people may have pulled their capital out of the system, money markets are still growing. Stablecoin market caps are still growing for the most part. And I think there are a lot of people that were just like, all right, we've been here before, or I've read about crypto bear markets before. I'm just going to stand on the sidelines and watch what happens. And, I'm not really a trader. I don't mess around in the markets too much, but I think a lot of people are just looking for a reason to get back into the mix, because the thing is, like crypto and Web3, it's more fun than most other things you could be doing as far as personal finance goes, as far as investing, or even like community engagement go. And it's purely digital and decentralized. So, there are a lot of people who are getting home from work. They've been working all 2022. saving up their money, and they're checking on their Discord channels, maybe lurking a little bit. And sure, people aren't confident enough to kind of throw all their money back in yet, but I sense kind of an apprehensive excitement, or kind of bubbling beneath the surface. There are a lot of people that are kind of ready to give it another try. So yeah, really all we've been doing is building, and the rest has been taking care of itself to a certain extent. People's ideas and theses from 2022 are being a little bit validated now that teams are finally deploying all the stuff they've been working on for the past 9 months. Um, so yeah, we're just going to keep, pushing product out, and trying to keep this momentum and this excitement going. And honestly, a lot of the community engagement handles itself in that respect.
Yeah, outside of my day job, I'm a self-proclaimed lurker myself, so I totally understand that sentiment for sure.
Right.
Um, could you, all right, let's switch it up a little bit. Could you like tell us a little bit about your Reaper farm? So I know at the beginning you kind of brought it up just a little bit. So it's a yield aggregator, but like, what's the setup like for that, and what could users potentially expect from using it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the nice thing about Reaper.farm is it's really like a layer of abstraction over all of DeFi. And what that means is it's designed to make your life easier. So kind of like the original pitch was, and this was back in 2021 where DeFi was a little bit rudimentary. Um, it was, hey, instead of performing the 17 transactions that we perform for you automatically, just deposit in Reaper, and you gain all this benefit as it pertains to tax efficiency. You gain all this benefit as it pertains to time input, et cetera. So really, it's like we create yield products on behalf of oath holders and the Oath Foundation, so that people can totally permissionlessly have like an automated DeFi investment manager that just generates yield. So, it started out as just something as simple as compounding assets, but we've since created really kind of complex yield instruments where users can, in some cases, engage with protocols in a single click that would sometimes take holding two different assets and messing with like 4 or 5 different websites, and we just do that all programmatically. And really, kind of with Reaper, the sky's the limit. Right now, we're working on options products, and working on like more risk on, more directional products. Whereas normally we're committed to like delta neutrality as far as the underlying asset goes. So I'm not going to get too deep into that, but you know, a focus on making DeFi users' lives as easy as possible and giving them the features that they need to make good decisions is our whole goal with Reaper. And Samson's been working really closely with the Reaper team for the past couple months. Do you have any extra insight for the people?
Reaper also serves as, I guess, the basic infrastructure, the technology of Reaper, this vault that automatically seeks the best yield, is something that we're baking into each of the other protocols that we're going to describe, I'm sure, soon. So I just wanted to make that connection early for everyone.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of the infrastructural layer of our entire ecosystem, and it's what allows us to achieve sustainability in our application development. So, yeah.
Awesome. So where does the granary fit into all this? I
Sure.
think you brought
Yeah.
it up earlier before
Yeah.
as well.
So, Granary Finance is a money market. It's a lending platform. Relatively simple. I would say a good analog would be kind of like an Aave or a Compound, where users can deposit assets and then take out a loan in some other asset. And the focus of Granary is really one, risk management, and two, uh, sustainability. And Granary is cool because we've been able to build a market size of over 13 million, I think, at this point, without a token. So we haven't released a token. We do occasional kind of incentive matching strategies with industry partners, but figuring out how to grow via service as opposed to incentives is our goal there. And we're launching a token next month. And this is after a year of development and being on 7 chains. So definitely check out granary.finance. It's kind of a super exciting project. And where we're going after that and kind of the future is, turning Granary into maybe the first ever sustainable lending platform in DeFi. So leveraging Reaper to make use of the surplus of collateral that kind of rests inside of these lending systems and generate yield for our users. So yeah, kind of a similar narrative you'll hear from us is, the focus on sustainability and the focus on making DeFi efficient enough to compete directly with traditional finance counterparts. And Granary is really going to unlock a ton of avenues toward that end. So definitely
Yeah,
exciting.
I actually was going to ask you about that about the importance of sustainability in this aspect. Like, could you explain a little bit further why sustainability is so important moving forward?
Yeah.
It's basically really expensive to get $1 of liquidity in, say, like an Aave. They're spending about, I think it's somewhere between $7 or $10 per $1 that they get in incentives just to convince people to put their money in there. So in our view, that's a huge misalignment of market incentives, and it's simply not sustainable.
It's
The
actually worse than that, Sam. They're spending $8.59 to earn $1 of revenue.
Oh
And
wow, right.
that's like, yeah, so it's really like the stats are kind of macabre. It's like you take an Aave, they've emitted nearly $400 million of their native token over the course of 2021 into 2022, and have generated less than $30 million of revenue in the same time period. And that would roughly equate to about 0.3% in revenue generated on AUM. So 0.3%. And then you look at, say, a Bank of America, so a really mature finance company, they're earning almost 5.5%. So more than 10 times more. And they're paying 2 cents per dollar of revenue in marketing, as opposed to Aave's $8.59. So it's really like the C's that we need to cross as DeFi to really compete in the traditional liquidity markets is it seems insurmountable, but we're making what we like to call our 10x innovations, figuring out ways to generate 10 times more revenue, reduce the cost of onboarding by 10x. And that's kind of where a lot of our energy lies is pushing to close this gap between DeFi and TradFi.
I just wanted to quickly add as well, Vlad, that just really appreciate how many questions there are in the live chat. Thanks everyone for
Yeah.
coming along and
Yeah,
asking. It's
it
awesome. There's so
goes
many. We'll
this
make an effort to try and answer as many as we can. If we miss some in our chat today, you can follow our Twitter and we'll answer these over the coming days, just so that everyone can see what the Byte Masons are up to.
Yeah, the question is kind of to the community. You guys go hard as an MFer, because they do ask a lot of questions. We love you for it, so don't stop asking the questions. Appreciate that though. So you're currently operating on Phantom, right? And you've
By
expanded
Phoenix.
into you've
Yeah.
expanded into Optimism as well. So are there any plans for further expansion? You kind of brought it up at the beginning where all the different chains you're on, but are there any future plans or anything you're working on? If you got alpha and offer that you can, cool. If not, we get it. Understandable. No worries.
I'll let Samson take this one.
So yeah, Granary is actually available on 7 chains currently. It's available on Phantom and Optimism, like you said, and then the Metis market, I'm not sure which it is,
Metis.
is actually growing quite quickly. So that's a really exciting new market for us. You can also find Granary on Arbitrum and Binance and on Avalanche and finally on Ethereum. And the largest market is currently Phantom, and we're eager to build out the rest of this as we get further into the year and see Granary really come to life everywhere. It's definitely a core piece of the Reaper farm as well, since the multi-strategies that are available on Reaper Farm leverage Granary Finance to basically offer maximum loops on all the quality assets. So it's a really core partnership in the ecosystem of yield that's available.
Yeah.
And as for
Yeah.
Reaper, that's available on 4 chains currently. So it's on the largest deployment is definitely Phantom in terms of support, as that's where we've made the most collaborations. And otherwise, we're quite particular. We're not trying to be the yield aggregator that catches everything. We're trying to be specific and targeted and fit certain needs, and also to try and innovate. So, if people should investigate the Boom Max strategy on Phantom or the vVelo Vault on Optimism for sort of more unique opportunities on Reaper Farm that you can't actually get anywhere else, and they're usually quite rewarding. So yeah, just wanted to highlight those opportunities as well. We're on Arbitrum and Binance. I'm not sure if I finished covering the support for Reaper, but yes, it's a growing list of basically really highly curated strategies that are designed to seek the best yield. My personal favorite is like the Optimism deployment on Reaper at the moment. It just seems to offer a lot of really fantastic options, in my personal opinion. But everyone needs to do their own research, of course. I'm just a degen. But yeah, that's where we're at.
This is where I make my disclaimer. DYOR. Everyone, make sure you do your own research. None of it is financial advice, and obviously, if you need any information on any projects that we have audited, please visit CertiK.com, your one-stop shop for due diligence needs. Visit a project page. Lots of information on there, and I'm saying it for like I don't know how many sessions in a row. A big update is coming in the next few weeks, so please be on the lookout for that, making it a lot easier for everyone to do their due diligence needs. But yes, DYOR, DYOR,
Yeah,
hashtag. So
definitely.
you guys have a pretty solid TVL, right? So what steps are you taking to make sure that funds are secured?
Yeah, so talking about that would probably take like more time than we have. So I'll kind of give a high level of our
Cliff notes.
DevSecOps
Yeah, high level.
pipeline.
30,000
Um,
feet.
yeah, so I mean, we're big believers in DevSecOps, which is really like a life cycle of applications as it pertains to security. So really, you know, every single deployment we have goes through a rigorous code review process. It goes through an internal auditing process. If deemed necessary or if deemed risky enough, it goes to an external auditor. A lot of times that's CertiK. And then, you know, we have monitoring. We have frequent reviews of usage and architecture, and it kind of, you know, what closes the loop is like deprecation, emergency response, things like that, and then back into implementation, code review, audit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So really, it's kind of like a continuous loop of health assessment. It's kind of for code, DevSecOps would be like you know, going to a doctor or having like a health routine, and just making sure that we're taking all the necessary preventative steps, and we're making sure that anytime there could be something that misaligns with the formal specification of the software, we can quickly identify, assess, and modify and fix bugs. So yeah, it's kind of like an infinite process. We have a production staging environment called Pain.finance. Um, we like Pain.finance because we've kind of intentionally made the website kind of scary. It's kind of our experimental proving grounds where you can access experimental strategies with hard deposit limits. So we kind of encourage people to try stuff out, but just a little bit. And then once it's there for a month or so, and it's passed all the monitoring tests, and we've integrated all of our DevOps, we can let it kind of bloom into full production on the Reaper.farm app or beyond. So just a lot of testing really is the key. And I think we saw in 2021, the classic thing was a big exploit would happen. You would check their repos and there would be like no tests. So we're kind of the antithesis to that, maxing out tests, maxing out code reviews, maxing out audits, and just going slow and doing things right, and sticking to the DevSecOps playbook.
All right, I'm not gonna let you pass this one by. So let's talk about Pain.finance real quick.
Sure.
Explain that a little bit more, because I didn't know about it prior to this conversation. Now I'm on it, and what's going on?
Yeah,
Because
yeah. If you want to go
So
ahead,
it's
Sam.
basically just a copy of Reaper Farm, but the difference is it's the opportunity for people to come and test the vaults and strategies, and for them to sort of be attacked. Even we encourage people to come and break the vaults while they're in Pain Finance, and it's an opportunity for them to be tested on the blockchain, before we sort of unveil it to the less conscious risk sort of users in our network. So it basically just creates like a little gated community that any user can enter by choice, but just they have to sort of understand that these are inherently more risky because they're either innovative or they're brand new, and we like to have a cooling period before we sort of expose everyone to something brand new.
Gotcha. All right, thank you for that. So to hit back on the security side, right? What security standards would you like to see mass adopted by projects on the blockchain?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a really good question.
I mean, I would like to see better bug bounty support. I think bug bounties and similar means of assessing risk and rewarding hackers. Right now, the infrastructure is kind of limited. The UX is pretty bad. There aren't any amazing platforms yet, and that takes a lot of time. Managing a bug bounty platform is a massive effort in terms of networking, in terms of marketing, et cetera. So I would like to see really strong adoption of bug bounties on an institutional and business level, as well as like a security engineering level. And then beyond that, I'd like to see the mass adoption of DevSecOps, and I'd like to see better testing standards employed by teams, especially startups. And something that stinks about developing in DeFi is testing is hard. It's an entirely different skill set from the core engineering principles. And the thing is, like, you will almost always catch more bugs writing unit tests than you will with an audit. And both of those are two distinct tools, and an audit firm isn't going to test your contracts for you. They're not going to write 5,000 lines of unit tests for you. So that's something I see as extremely vital in the security process. And kind of what teams are doing now is they're like, oh, I got an audit, I'm fine. And it's like, hey, that is, one piece of the pie. The audit should come after you're confident everything is secure. The audit should come after you have 100% test coverage, and that's something that you don't see that much, and it's happening. We see it happening. Adoption of kind of aerospace standards and defense standards as far as software development goes, and that's kind of where DevSecOps ideals were founded in the aerospace. Like, one small mistake when you're building aerospace software, or one small mistake when you're building, like, the firmware on a tank or whatever, could result in a loss of life. So definitely that's a huge one. And I would say, anytime you look at a repo for a project you're looking at, look for tests. And if you don't see tests, ask the people, hey, where are the tests? Where are the unit tests? And they'll probably get really grumpy at you, and then go and download some testing framework and spend another few weeks developing. But it's boring, it's hard, and it sucks, but it's absolutely vital to catching bugs.
Yeah, I think some people also forget that with the audit, like when you change the scope after the audit, like the game is changed. Like the game has changed, right? It's not exactly the same as it was prior, right? And so I think some people forget about that sometimes, where some projects may get an audit, and then down the line they might change something in their code, or add something different, and it's like, well, that is not that is not always falling in the scope of what was audited prior, and then you start having
Yeah.
those conversations again. So yeah, it's an ever evolving situation, right? The security, because you always try to get ahead of the issues that may come up, and it's hard, but it's
Yeah.
something that we always trying to strive to sort of make better for all projects and everyone involved in the Web3 space. So
Definitely.
I wanted to jump to a audience question. Pick this one out. So when you hear your name, I hope you feel great about yourself, because I feel great saying this one. Zippity doo dah, zippity doo dah. I think improvements to payment rails could be a big story in the near future, and your product suite could usher some nice feature advances. Can you talk about how you're tackling this antiquated system?
Yeah. So our work, I mean, so you think payment rails in 2023, you generally think Swift. Okay. You think, okay, how can you take money and automate it and work it in all of these different systems and have it work seamlessly as expected? And it's DeFi's core use case, payments as a service, banking as a service. This is essentially what a blockchain is. So settling transactions in an automated fashion. And when we talk about Rails, we're talking about a software pipeline that manages data from point A to point B and does it in a totally predictable manner. Again, you might think, wow, that's what smart contracts are. There you go. So yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of the work we're doing is, of course, in DeFi. So taking these smart contract rails, using them to manage assets, manage remittances, manage engagement with other protocols and with users. But additionally, as an engineering firm, we see a lot of issues with payment rails and the way they integrate to blockchain networks. So fiat on ramps and off ramps, authentication to use those on ramps and off ramps, KYC. The process right now is unbelievably clunky. And, something we're working on is a suite of software services. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but we're trying to make it so that someone can use a DeFi application or a Web3 application as simply as they use Facebook, or as simply as they use Venmo or similar. And we're trying to do it in a way that's totally modular, and works sort of plug and play. So if you think about banking as a service, JP Morgan predicts it's going to be one of the biggest industries in the world soon, a $3.2 trillion industry. And that's where smart contracts really, really fit in well. And kind of the main barrier right now is kind of taking the hook or building the bridge between traditional financial infrastructure and DeFi infrastructure. And a lot of our effort is figuring out ways to tap into that liquidity, which is orders of magnitude greater than that is addressable right now in DeFi. So it's really kind of a complicated question with a lot of complicated answers. But the work we're doing is sort of to take this application ecosystem that we're building and developing software that, with the flip of a switch, will increase its value tenfold. There's a lot of really interesting UX solutions and a lot of very interesting integration type solutions to do that. And that's the cool thing about DeFi. We're really pioneering right now. There are a lot of switches that are very hard to flip, but once you flip them, it just gives you a whole new world of accessibility. And that's like, I think all of our goals, that's why you secure the software. That's why you build these UX tools. That's why you work on making applications better and build relationships with brokerages and banks, just to make the end user happier and make their experience more consistent and safer throughout the entire process.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of making things as easy as possible for people, because that barrier of entry, sometimes when you just look at something, you're like, yeah, you know what? Seems like a tall task, even though it may not seem like a tall task. And I think that it's tough to sort of get anyone to get over that hump, right? And like mobile banking in recent years, right? A lot of people have latched onto it. Obviously, sending money to each other is very easy. And in this world, in this space that we are currently in, making it that much easier for someone to get on the platform, be able to use it, understand it, is like very crucial to the space moving forward. No doubt in my mind about that one.
Totally, 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 totally. And the thing is, um, if you do the research, and I'm sure most people here have done the research, you'll find very quickly that DeFi, smart contracts, cryptocurrency is 100% inevitable as a technology. It is pure perfection from an accounting standpoint, and it is totally integrated top to bottom. And programming financial tools and programming banking tools, it is the ultimate product market fit. And we will see that every year more and more and more. It will become more and more clear. And I like to say to anybody that's kind of an opponent of DeFi and an opponent of cryptocurrency, to just read about triple entry accounting. Ignoring the cryptocurrency aspect of things. Read about what this does at the business level, and then think about how we can kind of distill those applications to the end user and make their experience with money just way better. Like I hate dealing with my bank. I imagine everybody here feels the same way. Like the day that I can just pay taxes in one click, uh, and the day that I can, you know, pull all my remittances for a year and analyze them in one click without having to pull in 1,000 different platforms, that's like, dude, I'm so excited for that day. And it is an inevitable day. And it is only possible with smart contracts. And I say that not like, you can use Swift, you can use all these different systems to amalgamate some semblance of what I'm talking about off chain. But the complexity of software like that would be impossible to secure, impossible to make healthy. And with DeFi and smart contracts, like 90% of the work is already done for you. I like to say PayPal took like a decade and a half to get to their like PayPal Easy Pay window or whatever. And, as clunky as MetaMask is, their like MVP version could do that like just as easily. Of course, you have the private keys and things that need some work, but it's we're just exploring the tip of the iceberg right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna ask you. You kind of touched on it just a little bit, but what else do you see like in this future of DeFi happening? Or you're saying like, hey, smart contracts, it's inevitable. What are some of the other things that you're seeing potentially maybe being inevitable as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously tokenization of off-chain assets is the most straightforward use case. It's happening a lot right now. Turning illiquid assets liquid is a massive, massive use case. And kind of like you think back in the day, what did trading used to be? Trading used to be guys would load their ships up with physical items and then like, truck across the world somewhere else. And then once stock markets were introduced or futures markets, et cetera, trading got orders of magnitude more efficient over time, and now suddenly the economy is way more efficient and it's able to grow much faster. And now you're talking about doing it in a way that is so liquid and so programmatic and can be settled almost instantly. You don't have paper contracts, you don't have mistakes, you don't have accounting errors. You just have instant transaction or near instant. I'm sure it will get better and better and better. So really, it's like the sky is the limit, and kind of like I said, like what a blockchain does for someone programming financial use cases is it takes care of 90% of the work, and it takes care of it in a way that is deterministically perfect, as long as you're good enough at programming and securing your code. But yeah, it truly, truly is insane what we can do, even with TradFi coming to us. But where I see DeFi really excelling is us going to TradFi or us replacing traditional financial use cases. So I touched on banking as a service earlier. JP Morgan, who I tend to believe when it comes to finance, calling it one of the biggest opportunities, probably of our lifetimes, wherein brands and applications, especially in the tech sector. And you see, Uber will probably be one of the people to do this first. They really innovate on that end of things, where it's like, okay, we're already KYCing people for this app that we're using. Okay, whether it be a delivery app, whether it be a rideshare app, whatever app, Airbnb. What if we took that KYC and used it to deliver entire like banking ecosystems to people? So we see little flutters of that nowadays with like, oh, here's your airline card or whatever, earn cash back or earn XYZ with your airline card or with your freaking, League of Legends credit card or whatever the heck they're doing nowadays. We see people touching on this. And as an opportunity, it's like, imagine if your airline had a stable coin. Imagine if your airline could issue you loans, and imagine if it could do it without needing like a whole department to manage it. DeFi can automate this. And now you have companies being able to build ecosystems wherein if you have a lifestyle that's focused within like a particular product vertical or market sector, like let's say your hobby is like Magic the Gathering. Okay, let's say your whole life revolves around work and Magic the Gathering. Suddenly you've got Wizards of the Coast saying, hey, if you plug into our financial ecosystem, if you let us provide the financial services for you instead of your bank, we will give you a better deal on our products at similar or better rates to your bank. And there they lock you into their ecosystem, which you're probably already locked into anyways. And they're generating a ton of revenue, providing you services you needed anyway. And beyond that, you're getting a much better deal and you're getting much better service that is, detailed in such a way that it fits your lifestyle perfectly. And that's kind of where a lot of banking is going to head. And I think it's Andreessen Horowitz that says it, or some A16Z person. Every company is eventually going to be a fintech company. And we see that with how companies are managing their balance sheets, how they're managing their debt tables. Every single company is like, okay, you know, we have all of these assets. We as a company are prioritizing growth and prioritizing contribution to the economy and prioritizing scale. How can we translate that into an ecosystem of value that is insulated? And how can we capture as much of that value as possible? So Visa and MasterCard have, like I said, kind of touched on this a little bit, but DeFi really kind of unlocks a world of use cases that we haven't even seen yet, and I feel like in the coming years we're going to see that become more and more of a reality, wherein banking infrastructure is so self-sustaining and insulated and efficient that you can just say, hey, Byte Masons, I want to offer banking services to my clients. I want to give them a discount if they pay from, a native account within our ecosystem. I want to give them discounts if they use our stablecoin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we can say, of course, give us, a couple months and we'll have that up and running in such a way that it requires maybe a single maintainer. And the blockchain handles all the cybersecurity, and whatever KYC partner we have handles all the KYC. And all of this kind of boils and bubbles back into blockchain and distributed architectures and kind of microservice architectures. I'm not going to get, I'm probably getting a little too heady already, but really it's an insane world we have in store for us. And I think, it's easy to say, oh, dystopian technocracy, whatever, it's just going to let people exact more control over us. But really what blockchain does is it gives you infinite choices. And I think that's what, you need to remember is we are creating a system that is antithetical to the existing traditional financial system. It's instead of one bank having all the infrastructure and sucking as much value out of you as possible, you have an ecosystem that's designed to give you that value. And as DeFi proliferates and as these services, these smart contract services get better and better, you're going to have literally infinite access to all of this stuff in whatever fits your lifestyle best. Your gym is eventually probably going to offer you banking services. If you're like, a meathead, you're 6 months into your test cycle, you're getting jacked,
Oh,
you're going to have your gym salesman, sidle up next to you and show you a clipboard with all their banking
that,
services powered by
all
Byte
right.
Masons. But
That's an
yeah.
issue. That's an issue because then you'll never be able to get out of your gym membership because then
Yeah, dude, for
you'll
real.
have to jump you'll have to jump through 700 hoops just to get out of. I just
Organized
want to
Yeah.
leave
crime.
this.
A real
So
You're
world
locked
example of
in.
this, if I can, Vlad, is
yeah,
just I guess like when is Nike Run gonna offer like, tokens for running, like Steppen? It's an area that is ripe for innovation across
yeah.
almost every vertical. I think that's what
Yeah.
Beavis is, alluding to.
I mean, they do, but they don't technically, right? Like you can see it in the sense that like when you one up, right? Or when you like your mouth, like if you have a Fitbit or what have you, right? And you
Yeah.
do a milestone or your Apple Watch, it's
Yeah.
there, but it's not there in the in the way that you're I we know it can be done, right?
Yeah.
Like the infrastructure is there to like, well, you're already running your laps every single day. How could now we can like build upon that, right? And we can. It almost feels like an easier entry into the space, whereas
Yeah.
coming up with a brand new idea just to be part of it, where it's like, no, this
Yeah.
thing is kind of
And
compatible.
have to secure it, and I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah,
that's the big
for sure.
difference is the security is like shared by everyone. So
Yeah.
it really is a much more
We
accessible
can
pathway.
align incentives perfectly with smart contracts and DeFi. And that's something like all capitalism is top to bottom is incentives. Our whole economy is built on incentives. That's literally the beginning and end of it. And right now it's like, you know, economists throwing, I guess poop at a wall, trying to make things work. And what DeFi allows us to do and what smart contracts allow us to do are send an arrow right into the bullseye incentive wise. And Nike, I guarantee you eventually, like your participation in the Nike ecosystem, so using and buying Nike products, eventually that's going to be how you get exclusive Nike drops. So, you're talking your
Yeah.
up tempos, your Sean Witherspoons, whatever you got. Eventually, Nike is going to be able to programmatically determine who their greatest ecosystem contributors are and enter them into those situations. And this is literally like how value is created in economies. And DeFi allows us to do it in a perfect way. And that's really what's exciting about it is we as users win in this instance. And I would say the biggest thing that we need to do to make sure this doesn't become like a dystopian technocracy sort of deal is we need to make sure that we voice what we want and we do the research such that we can talk in an educated manner about where we want this future to go. Because it is inevitable, and what we're doing at Byte Masons and through Oath and through Grain and through all this stuff we're working on is we are creating a means of channeling this energy from users and from normal people to build the software they want to build and to build the future they want to build. And that's kind of what it's all about. It's like we're real people who see this future happening, and we've managed to assemble an elite team of engineers that are probably going to be the ones that have a big part in making it happen.
My my
So yeah.
my two takeaways from that is that, all right, we just got to keep it out of the gyms, right? Just the people who handle gym memberships cannot handle that, and
Dude, wait
Nike
till
will
it's in
have to,
Costco, bro. Dude, you're not
uh,
ready.
and Nike has to update their sneakers app so I can get the I can get the drop that I worked for. Because if I
Yeah.
don't, I'm gonna be angry. No
Yeah,
shade
for
to
real.
anyone.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got another question from the community. So these would be like the two questions as part of the contest. So, but you guys already said you'll answer some more questions, and that would be very grateful if you can. This one's from Eva with like 12 A's. Eva. Don't know how you're saying that one. You're rolling out quite a few projects between Reliquary, Reaper, Granary, Ethos Reserve, Moon, etc. I'm curious to hear the synergistic opportunities between these protocols slash products and why several tokens, Grain, Oath, and Earn, is beneficial rather than cannibalistic to market share.
Sure. Do you want to handle that one, Samson, or do you want me to fire off an answer?
Well, I'll let you go actually, Beavis, but I'll
Sure.
tap on your shoulder if you're dragging on.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I won't be as long-winded as that last answer, I promise. But yeah, all of our different applications. The cool thing about them is they integrate with each other perfectly, and really the end goal of this ecosystem that we're building. So we have yield products, we have lending products, we have stablecoin products, etc. Is essentially one thing, and that thing is creating the software that underpins finance for the future. So, while now it's in these different branding verticals, in the future, really, it's going to be one app that people are using, and the reason it's so powerful is by owning every level of the vertical. So we're generating the underlying yield, we're aggregating and optimizing that yield, we're creating lending opportunities and yield products on top of that stack, and we can just build and build and build until we have the most cost effective financial products maybe even in the world, to be honest. And really the only way we can do that is because we're totally vertically integrated, so we don't have to charge a ton of fees to be sustainable. We don't need to pay off a bunch of middlemen. And we see that even in DeFi, where people are paying a ton of money and a ton of fees to integrate with an external platform, when for us, it's almost easier to just build it out ourselves. And it also lets us control the security pipeline. It lets us manage interfaces and how they're built and how they operate with each other. So that's the big part. And as far as tokens go, each ecosystem kind of represents a different, I mean, one, a different like entity and company, but two, it represents kind of a different product vertical or a different sphere. So where the Oath ecosystem is totally focused on creating yield products, the granary ecosystem or the grain ecosystem is focused primarily on lending, and those use cases are so far apart. And you can create yield products out of a lending platform or whatever, but commingling them doesn't make a ton of sense, because their value propositions are much different. The teams that work on them are different. The entities are different. So yeah, making that all one big thing would be quite messy, and it would be very hard to align incentives properly. So that's kind of like where the approach goes. We don't have any of the Granary team members here at the moment, unfortunately, to speak on that to you. But yeah, there are a lot of benefits to having such a broad ecosystem, and there are also a lot of benefits to having unique brands and unique teams working on them, so that we can focus on excellence instead of spreading the same group of people really thin.
Nice answer. Thanks, Phoebus.
No problemo.
Thank you for that. So before we close out, is there anything you wanted to leave our listeners with? Any updates potentially? Things to look out for. Obviously, you can stay and answer some of the questions in the side chat that we have there. But is there anything to touch on that we might not have covered?
Sure. I mean, I would check out our publication, medium.com/byte-masons. I'll go ahead and post in this chat. And I can't speak for 2 minutes. Let me see. Is there like a general chat? I'll put it in general chat.
Oh, geez. Drop
That's
it.
okay.
We'll get it in there. Yeah, we have certain rules in the Discord sometimes when someone joins the day of, it's the thing to stop those people to spamming the links and
Yeah.
phishing and stuff like that.
All good. But yeah, we have a lot of writing that will kind of clue you into our development approach and what we're working on. My personal medium as well has a lot of writing. Medium.com/oxbebis. And then beyond that, I would say join us in Discord at discord.gg/Reaper Farm. You can follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/oxbebis_. All of our protocol Twitters, we can maybe link those separately. There are quite a few things that we work on. But yeah, just stay up to date. We've got a lot of cool announcements coming in the next few weeks. We've got a lot of cool events happening in the next few weeks and coming months. So a lot of the work we did over 2022 is coming to a head right now. So it's a little hectic, a lot of information, but if you tap in, I'm sure you'll find something interesting.
Awesome. Now, everyone, reminder: follow Byte Masons. Go check out their website. We're gonna drop in a couple of links in the chat. And just so everyone's aware, you know that we bring these projects in and try to have these conversations so you learn a bit more and obviously protect your own security journey. Few housekeeping for you guys. Earlier today, we had a Twitter Spaces, an internal Twitter Spaces about intelligence infiltration of Web3 projects. So please check that out on the CertiK Twitter. And also, please come back next week for some more of some conversations that we'll be having on our Discord as well. But again, CertiK Community, and CertiK Alert, please follow those accounts, stay up to date, and please check out Byte Masons, the Granary. Go learn a bit more if you're interested in joining the Discord as well to get some more information. So, guys, really appreciate you taking the
Thanks
time
for
with
inviting
us.
us through. Yeah,
The
Yeah,
two,
most
great.
the two questions that I asked will be the winners of this. Is that all right with you guys? The two that we picked, or yeah, I think
Yeah, of
we'll go
course.
with that route. And then obviously, I think a couple of people in the chat have a couple of good questions. Sorry, I can't ask all of them, but if you guys would be so grateful to answer some of the questions for our listeners, that'd be really awesome. But I
Definitely.
really enjoyed the chat, and I saw someone put like what was it? Financed by Planet Fitness or something like that, or Crunch Fitness. So the jokes are flying right now. So that means it was a good conversation for sure.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, we'll run through and try to compile some answers to all these wonderful questions. And thank you everybody in the audience for your time. I know probably everybody's about as busy as I am nowadays. So
Yeah,
I really
the funny
appreciate
thing
it.
about the time is that in this space we're all over the world. So I'm pretty sure it's probably like 6:39 a.m. for someone in this chat. It's probably like 1 a.m. for someone in this chat as well. So, or it's
Yeah.
2 p.m. So we get a lot of different people from all across the world, and we're grateful for having them on, listening to these chats. So it's always good to have you guys.
Love it.
So thank you, and we look forward to seeing what you're building, and looking forward to seeing a lot of these updates as well.
Thanks
Yeah,
again. Appreciate it,
amazing.
guys.
Thank you for
Enjoy
the
your weekend.
platform, and yeah,
Thank
take
you.
care, everyone.